So we've been doing a lot of planning. We started with a goal and we created a SMART goal. Remember, specific, measurable, something, something, something else. In any case, now that you have your SMART goal, what's your next steps? What are you going to do? How are you going to reach that goal? Well, we're going to talk about it today on Stress Talk Live with Marceline as I share with you three reliable ways to supercharge your stress management plan. And we're going to get to it in just a moment. Hi there. Welcome to Stress Talk Live with Marceline. And I am your host, Marceline Bailey. This is where we help women live healthy lives through strategic stress management. I'd like to invite you to like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at ML Bailey Consultants. This is where you will get up to date information, encouragement, as well as tips on how to keep your stress levels low, not just for the moment, but long lasting stress relief. That's what we're working towards. Also, later on in our broadcast, I'm also going to share with you how you can receive some strategies that are geared toward your specific stress level and intensity of stress that you experience. So I'll be sharing that in a little bit, just a little later on. But for now, we're going to be talking about three ways to supercharge your stress management plan. As I said earlier, we've been working on a SMART goal, helping you to develop a SMART goal for stress reduction. And as you recall, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. You thought I'd forgotten, didn't you? I was trying to get through the intro and realized I had jumped to the meat of what I was talking about. So that's one of the reasons I didn't finish the acronym. So when you developed your SMART goal, you have a target to work towards. But right now, how are you going to get there? You actually need a plan to reach that goal. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you some strategies to help you put more meat on your plate, more meat on that goal that you have. We want to have a structure, we want to have a format, and we want to help you to get where you're trying to go in a faster manner. So, let's get into our topic for today. And we're talking about planning. We're talking about planning, but we want to develop a plan so that it's easy to execute. It's easy to carry out. Because if it's not easy, you're not going to do it. You'll probably become more stressed trying to do it. And you're just going to say, forget it. What's the point? Well, we don't want you to say, forget it. Because when you lower your stress levels, you are healthier. Ongoing, long term, high stress affects your health. It affects your body in ways in which it just wears the body down. You'll notice that when you're stressed out, you're tired. You may have aches and pains. Some of that comes from stress. You may have a condition like high blood pressure or diabetes that your stress exacerbates those conditions. You also may have a long-standing um, condition like cancer or rheumatoid arthritis. Stress also exacerbates that. So we want you to be able to keep your stress levels low. You're never going to be stress free. None of us are, but we can maintain a manageable level of stress that is healthier for us, that does not cause us physical, emotional, or mental harm. So let's get into what we're talking about. Today, I want to help you to develop an action plan, and I'm going to give you three things to think about as you're developing your action plan that fits your goal to reduce your stress. Number one, you're going to create a recipe. Think of your action plan as if it is a recipe, as if it is something um, that you are creating, not so unsimilar as when you use a recipe to bake a cake or to cook a certain meal. You want to develop a recipe and think about it in these terms. Recipes have step by step instructions, right? They tell you the ingredients that you need, and then they tell you how to use those ingredients. Some recipes will even tell you the utensils that you need, the equipment that you need. So the recipe is really your getting advice to on how to bake a certain cake or how to bake a pie or how to make the best beef stroganoff that you can. So consider the recipe advice from a an expert chef or an expert cook. So when you're creating your recipe for stress reduction, you want to get advice from an expert or advice from someone who is well versed in stress management reduction. You want to talk to that person about how you can best lower your stress levels in a way that fits your life and your lifestyle. Why would I suggest that as a first step for you? Because people who are well versed in their field can help you to reach your goal much faster. And they can also help you avoid pitfalls that you may encounter along the way. So, as you're thinking about your recipe, think about this. Number one, you want to talk about the steps that fit into your life and your lifestyle with someone who is well versed in stress management reduction. Number two, you want to take inventory of what you have available. Remember, with a recipe for baking a cake or a recipe for making beef stroganoff, you take inventory. You're going to need measuring spoons, measuring cups, perhaps. You're going to need serving spoons, spoons to dip. You may need a measuring cup, a liquid measuring cup. You may need measuring cups for solids. So you wanted to a mixing bowl too. You want to take inventory as to what you have available when you are putting together your stress reduction plan. Now, you might not know what you need, right? That's why it's important for you to speak to someone who is well versed in stress reduction because that person can tell you what works well. That person can also tell you what you have at your disposal so that you don't have to go out and purchase anything, right? They can tell you how to substitute. They can tell you how to use what you have to that so that it fits you, so that it fits your lifestyle. So when you speak to your stress management expert or your stress management coach, consultant, you also want to for them to help you do this inventory. Inventory what you have at your disposal. They can also recommend things that you can use that are low cost or no cost that can supplement what you currently have. The third thing under creating a recipe is to write down your areas of focus. Now, a stress management consultant or coach can help you to write down the areas that you're going to focus on in order to reduce your stress. Because you remember when I talked about creating a SMART goal, I talked about being very specific. That is the first part of a SMART goal, that it's specific. You're not all over the place and you're not talking about a general subject. You didn't just say, I want to reduce my stress. You actually pinpointed what about your stress level you wanted to accomplish or achieve. So, there are three things that you want to do when you're putting together your recipe for stress reduction. Number one, you want to talk to someone who is well versed in stress management, especially stress management reduction. And that can be a stress management consultant, it can be a stress management coach. Okay. The second thing is you want to take inventory of what you have available to you to help you to meet your goal. And when I talked about the inventory, I talked about things that fit you and fit into your lifestyle. Your stress management consultant can help you to identify those things that you need, those things you currently have, and how you can use those to meet your current goal. And then, third, you want to write down your areas of focus because when you developed your stress management, stress reduction goal, I specifically encouraged you to choose one thing that you're going to work on. And that was a specific thing that you were going to address. This is the same thing. You want to focus on very few areas. And so you want to write those things down. So the first thing you're doing is you're creating a recipe, and those are the components of your recipe. So I have a question out there for those of you who have joined me on the live, as well as those of you who are watching the replay. Um, do you cook? Do you bake? Do you use recipes? I use recipes quite a bit because, um, unlike my grandmother and my mom, or my grandmothers, I should say, and my mom and my dad cooked a lot too. He liked to cook. I don't have a lot of things in my memory, so I have to use I have to use a recipe to keep me on track. I have some things that I can do that I don't need a recipe for, but some things I do use recipes. So we talked about, let me get back on track instead of talking about cooking. Okay, so we talked about creating a recipe for which is similar to your guidelines or the steps you're going to take prior to putting your plan together. The second thing is choose one area of focus. Now, I suggested that you write down your areas of focus because that's where you can choose just one. From those areas of focus, you can just choose one. And what do I mean? Okay, let's go back to our recipe analogy. When we're looking at a recipe, the recipe sometimes gives very broad instructions on how to bake a cake. So, for example, your recipe may say something to the effect of mix your dry ingredients. Okay, mix your dry ingredients in a bowl. Mix your wet ingredients in a bowl. Gradually pour your dry ingredients into the wet ingredients and mix until just moist. Okay, so those are examples of the instructions you might have when you're baking a cake. The recipe itself assumes that you know certain things to do. For example, before you can mix your dry ingredients, you have to get a spoon, you have to get the flour, the sugar, the baking powder. I don't know that you put baking powder in a cake, but baking soda. You have to get those ingredients. You have to measure the flour, but first you have to spoon the flour into your dry measuring cup. And once you do that, you pour it into the sifter, you sift the flour into a bowl. Okay, so you get the idea. You have to break those. The recipe assumes that you know there are steps in between. So when I talk about choosing one area of focus, what I'm suggesting to you is to choose one thing you're working on and then break that one action into many steps, into many steps that will help you to accomplish that one area of focus or that one step. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, drop a yes, it does make sense into the comment box. And even those of you who are watching on the replay, just drop that into the comment box. Yes, it does make sense. Once you break your area of focus down into smaller steps, then the second thing to do is to practice until those steps become natural and normal for you. What you will do is you'll create a habit. Yes, a habit. Now, with stress reduction, it's very important to have naturally occurring habits to reduce stress because it helps us to lower our stress even before it gets to a peak, right? It also helps us to bring that stress level down when it goes up. So we want to have naturally occurring steps, actions that we know to take. And we want those to be there. We want it to be natural. We want it to be normal. We want it to be a habit so that we can do it without even thinking about it, so that it kicks in without us thinking about it. So you're going to break your area of focus or that step into smaller steps. And then you're going to practice those smaller steps until they become habits so that you can engage those steps naturally without thinking so that you can reduce your stress before it gets to a peak level and you can maintain a lower stress level. The third thing under choosing one area of focus is that your stress management consultant can help you to do that. That's one of the things that I help my clients to do. Choose one thing because we want to do it all. We want to get it over with. We want to reach that goal. But my experience has taught me, and I share this with my clients, that when we try to do too much, it is overwhelming. We want to focus on one thing. We want to practice that until we get it down. and then we can move to the next area of focus. Okay. Then, last but certainly not least, in our 3 ways to supercharge your stress management plan is to review and revise as needed. Now, this is probably one of my favorite areas: review and revise. We want to review, do an ongoing review. With each step, you want to ask yourself, how did that work for me? Or did it work for me? Or, wow, that really worked for me. You want to review each time you are faced with a stressful situation or when you notice that your stress level is increasing. You want to notice and assess or review whether your natural steps that you've learned and you've practiced, have those kicked in, or did you have to think about it? You want to assess and review whether it helped you, how quickly it helped you, and how long lasting it was. This is what a stress management consultant helps you to do: to review as needed and to revise, to make the revisions you need so that the next time you're able to lower your stress and keep it low. Again, by reviewing, doing ongoing review, you are able to notice whether your plan, your action steps are working and working the way you need them to work. You're also able to assess whether the inventory you took, the items that are at your disposal to assist you, are helpful, or whether you need something else. You also, in your review and your assessment, you can also take that to your stress management consultant or coach and ask them how you can tweak what you're doing in a way that fits you and your lifestyle so that you can gain that long lasting stress reduction that you desire. So, we've just talked about 3 reliable ways to supercharge your stress management plan. Number one, you're going to create a recipe. And in that recipe, you have 3 things that you're going to do. You're going to speak to someone who is well versed in stress management reduction. You're also going to take inventory of the tools that you have available to you. And then finally, you're going to write down the areas of focus that you want to address while you're working towards your goal of lower stress. The second thing we talked about was choosing one area of focus. And the reason you want to choose one area of focus is that you will be able to break down that area into smaller steps. That will enable you to practice those steps so that they become habits, so that when you need them, they will automatically kick in to lower your stress and to keep it low. And then finally, you can work with a stress management consultant, not only for to bounce things off of them or to help you to choose an area of focus and break that area of focus into smaller steps. You can also use your stress management consultant as an accountability partner to make sure that you are practicing and utilizing your stress management tools, the ones that you have available to you. The third part to supercharge, third way to supercharge your stress management plan is to constantly review and to revise as needed. When you are reviewing, you are basically making sure that what you're doing is working. You can speak with your stress management consultant who can help you tweak your plan and tweak your steps so that you can reach your goal of stress reduction quicker and easier and help you to avoid those pitfalls that you might encounter. So I've shared with you the three reliable ways to supercharge your stress management plan. Now, I'd like to share with you one way that you can get started on your plan. I invite you to I invite you to take a look at the quiz. I want you to take the quiz. Don't just look at it. Take the quiz. Are you blessed, stressed, or burned out? The quiz, Are You Stressed, Blessed, or Burned Out, will help you to identify the level of stress, the type of stress that you're experiencing, the level of stress you experiencing, as well as the intensity of that stress. Not only will you learn what you're experiencing, you will get instant access to strategies to help you immediately to lower your stress level and to keep it low. So you will find that quiz, Are You Stressed, Blessed? Are you blessed, stressed, or burned out, at this link. You'll also find other resources for stress management at that link. But I want you to take the quiz. Take the quiz, take the quiz, take the quiz, take the quiz, because it's going to help you to get where you want to be faster. And the thing about it is, it's free. Who can beat free? We love free. Don't you love free? I like free, especially when it's good free. Yeah, quality free, beneficial free. Take the quiz. Oh boy, that's so funny. I tickle myself. So take the quiz. Also, please follow, like, and subscribe to ML Bailey Consultants on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you want more, I hope you do, join me every Sunday right here at 7 p.m. for Stress Talk Live with Marceline. Well, that's all for now. I'm Marceline Bailey, and as always, take good care.